So I was struggling to make my internally set video deadlines when an idea hit me for a new video. I want to do a short little explanation of why I think that Silver Age Flash is a smarter hero than Batman, and it's not even close. Now, to clarify, what I mean by Silver Age Flash is Barry Allen pre-2009 retcon. I have a reason for why I'm specifying specifically that beyond just my general distaste for that era. Don't worry. So how will we be determining this? Personally, for this kind of thing, I don't believe that the whole age-old, let's just grab a bunch of their canon feats and measure them up against each other type of power scaling approach is necessary. What I like to do is more of a character analysis kind of this, especially when it comes to shared universe, because I think, as an example for this kind of thing, on a very simple level, obviously, Reed Richards being called the smartest man in Marvel, and that being his whole gimmick in Marvel, well, beyond obviously the stretchy thing, is obviously makes him smarter than pretty much every other super genius in Marvel, like Tony Stark, for example. So I could call it character-based or theme-based scaling. I don't know. Whatever you will, call it what you will. But my point is, I'm not going to be taking the whole feats approach to this, because I think that would be a reductionist view, and I don't think it would really sell the point I'm trying to make as well. Okay, so let me explain the basis here. We need to delve into the differences between pre-retcon Barry Allen and Batman as a character. Batman is the world's greatest detective, first and foremost, but he also has a number of other skills that he excels in, but is not the master of. And I will get to this point later, because I think it's very important to point this out about Batman. But Barry Allen is a scientist. His whole story angle pre-retcon was that he would use his scientific knowledge in conjunction with his speed to get himself out of a number of situations. Basically, the entire story engine of The Flash under Barry Allen was him using his scientific knowledge to solve essentially villainous puzzles using his speed. That his story engine was being so scientifically knowledgeable that he could figure out a number of solutions using his just exploiting his just one power and essentially turning it into a number of different abilities. That's where we get things like common mainstays in Flash stories, like the tornado arms, things like phasing, etc. It's that from that very concept of Barry Allen being this sort of genius scientific puzzle solver. But even if we were to narrow in on specific feats, this is the guy that made a treadmill into a time machine. Now, there is one area that Batman indisputably does better than Barry, as much as I like to shitpost about otherwise. He is a better detective. This is undeniably true. As I mentioned before, the forensics, he is Barry Allen as a scientist. He's a forensic scientist, but pre-retcon, the forensics has always been sort of on the side. It's always just kind of on the side. He's not really a detective like Batman is, and he doesn't nearly have as many quote-unquote detective stories as Batman. He's always been more of just a scientist, and being a forensic scientist is just kind of his job. Yeah. As much as I would love for a story to just have him quit being a cop, unfortunately we live in a world where that hasn't happened. But I point this out because I'm dumps of saying that Batman doesn't have qualities where he is better than Barry Allen. He's a better fighter. Obviously, he's a better detective. But what I'm trying to say is that Barry Allen, entire gist, other than his whole origin of becoming the Flash because he's a comic fan, and basically living the dream, Barry Allen's entire gist is that he very much specializes in science. He is a very intelligent character. It specializes in that element, even if people wouldn't really guess it on the surface. He isn't just guy who goes fast. He is guy who's smart enough to exploit his ability to go fast to do a number of crazy things. Batman is a jack of all trades, and this is what I was referring to earlier. Batman does a lot of things. He's knowledgeable in a lot of areas. He has a lot of fighting disciplines. But I think what people miss about Batman is that he's a jack of all trades. He should not be beating the specialists in an area. Batman should not be smarter than Mr. Terrific. Batman should not be more physically capable than specialists who've devoted their entire lives towards one discipline or just being physically strong in general. Batman has done a number of things, and he is going to be above average and probably in the top rankings for a lot of things, but not at the top. He's not going to beat the specialists. And Silver Age Barry Allen was definitely a specialist in science. It's the same principle why Superman should not be faster than Flash is in their prime. Because the Flash is the speed character. So if Superman could use speed faster and better than Flash's, then it'd be stupid. Flashes would have no reason to exist. So that's why the Flashes get to be faster and get to do all these crazy things with speed that Superman doesn't really do as much. Other than, there's one time that I thought was really cool in the latest Superman run where he used super speed to phase, and he mentioned, oh yeah, the Flash taught me that, and I think that was really cool. Thumbs up. But I'm getting off track with that. What I'm trying to say is that, basically, jacks of all trades should not be specialists. And I think that is a fair conclusion to make. Alright, so now I'll explain the thing with post-retcon Barry Allen. Okay, I promise this is not just me bashing post-retcon Barry Allen. I know that there's going to be a lot on this channel, and I promise and there's going to only be more, and I promise I will make that video on why I think the retcon is bad in a full explanation sometime. But for the sake of this video, my thing with the retcon, and why I think that it is worth differentiating, is that post-retcon Barry Allen is visibly a lot more just kind of a poor man's Batman. All of the super speed scientist angle is just not completely gone, but kind of obscured by him just being a poorer man's Batman. He's motivated by the death of his parent. He's leaning a lot more into the detective angle. You'll notice that in a lot of Flash stories post 2009, there's a lot more police aesthetics, and that's for a very good reason, because they tried to make Barry Allen another detective. Well, I mean, I guess you could claim that he already was, but they basically tried to lean into that angle when it wasn't really nearly as present in his past stories. So why does this make him differentiated and not smart enough to compete with Batman? Simple, because Batman is the world's greatest detective. And if Barry Allen is just being a kind of another detective, then Batman wins. He's not it's not like that his scientific knowledge is completely gone, but it rarely ever comes up, and it doesn't really it's not like post-retcon Barry Allen has ever been. They always just try and go for either the angle of poor man's Batman or poor man's Wally West. So, in either of those cases, he's not smarter than Batman, which is why I think this is a good thing to differentiate. Pre-retcon Barry Allen, absolutely smarter than Batman, and one of the best scientists in the DCU, behind only Lex Luthor and Mr. Terrific. But post-retcon, he's just kind of a less effective detective than Batman. But beyond that, Barry Allen is smarter than Batman. Okay, yeah. So now let me bit level with you all for a bit. I was struggling to get the video I had planned to get out after the MCU one. I'm very grateful for the success on the MCU one. By the way, that one popped off relatively for a small channel, for a channel of my size. But yeah, I wanted to get a Flash comic ranking, but I'm really struggling with the production on that one. It's kind of a mix of, I think I just don't want to work on it. I think I'm going to stay away from rankings after that video because I think it's kind of stifling. But you're not here to hear my gripes. You're just here for the outro and me telling you to never resubscribe. So please subscribe to the channel for more variety comic content. I don't want to just say I'm going to be a comic channel because I do have a number of non-comic things I want to talk about. But this is the channel where you get to hear me yap, and hopefully this 10-minute long yap about whether or not Barry Allen is smarter than Batman was entertaining to you. Bye bye.